Sidney's sibling. Alright, let's dive into one of the wildest theories for Scream 7 that somehow makes a scary amount of sense. Forget brand new killers with random grudges. This one suggests the ultimate Ghostface is all in the family. And we're not talking about Billy Loomis or Stu Macher. This theory goes back to the very beginning, to the original sin of Woodsboro itself. The killer, according to this idea, is a secret, illegitimate child of Sidney's late mother, Maureen Prescott. Remember, Maureen's wild past in Hollywood was the original spark that lit this entire fire decades ago. This theory says there was another kid from one of those flings, a child she gave up or hid away, who's been living in the shadows this whole time, completely off everyone's radar. Now, as an adult, this mystery sibling has been stewing in jealousy and rage. They watched from the sidelines as Sidney survived massacre after massacre, becoming famous as the final girl hero, while they were left with nothing but the Prescott family's bloody legacy. Their motive is a twisted sense of claiming their birthright. They're killing to finally make their sister pay for the life and recognition they never got.
I'm gonna slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face.
It's the ultimate family betrayal, tying the entire saga back to its core. Imagine the personal torment, the phone calls where Ghostface would whisper, "We're family, Sid." It would make the threat deeply intimate and horrifying, perfectly closing the loop on the Prescott family's tragic story. Sam Carpenter. This next theory is a real mind-bender. What if the new killers aren't obsessed with the real past murders, but with the movies made about them? We're talking about superfans of the in-universe Stabby franchise who have completely lost the plot. Their target? Sam Carpenter. But here's the twist. They're furious that she's been glorified as this generation's final girl. In their twisted minds, she's nothing but a fraud. How can the daughter of Billy Loomis, a kid born from pure evil, be celebrated as a good guy?
What is this?
Someone who knows your little family's secret.
They're totally bought into the idea of that evil gene that the movies and tabloids keep whispering about. So their master plan is to kill her and prove they're right. Their motive is to orchestrate a new massacre so brutal, so psychologically torturous, that Sam has no choice but to snap. They want to push her so far over the edge that she finally gives in to the darkness, picks up the Ghostface mask herself, and becomes the killer they've always believed she was destined to be. It's all about forcing her into a bloody redemption arc that ends with her becoming the very thing she's been fighting against. Talk about a messed up way to make a point. Chad Meeks-Martin, mastermind. Okay, get ready for the most brutal betrayal imaginable. This theory suggests the next Ghostface mastermind has been hiding in plain sight, bleeding on the ground right next to us. We're talking about Chad Meeks-Martin. The guy who has somehow cheated death not once but twice. What if all that surviving was part of a long, twisted game? The theory goes that Chad is secretly sick of his role. He's the jock, the supportive twin brother, the guy who's always there with a pep talk. But deep down, he's boiling with hate. He's tired of living in the shadow of his sister, Mindy, the official horror expert who always has the rules and the smartest commentary. His motive is a dark desire to prove he's both muscle and the ultimate intellectual final boy who was clever enough to orchestrate the entire thing. He's using his near-death experiences as the perfect cover. Who would ever suspect the victim who keeps getting stabbed? His ultimate goal is to finally outsmart his own sister by designing a massacre where the horror expert doesn't see it coming from her own brother. He would ensure Mindy is the first to go, eliminating the person he feels has overshadowed him his entire life. It's a revenge plot fueled by sibling rivalry taken to its most horrific, murderous extreme. After being the heart of the core four, this would reveal that Chad was actually the mastermind, pulling all the strings, making his survival the most calculated move of all. The Ghostface fatigue killer. Alright, this one is so meta, it's almost poetic. We all know the Scream movies are famous for commenting on horror tropes, but what if the next killer takes that job way too seriously? This theory suggests the new Ghostface is motivated by pure, unadulterated fan rage. The killer is basically that one super fan in the comment section who's had enough. They're obsessed with the Scream franchise itself. Their beef? The endless sequels and reboots. In their twisted mind, the original films were perfect, a masterpiece that's been tarnished by what came after. They see the core four, Sam, Tara, Mindy, and Chad, as symbols of a franchise that's overstayed its welcome, characters they feel are just riding the coattails of the OG legacy, so their motive is a brutal form of quality control. They want to permanently end the Scream story by executing the new generation of characters, thereby forcing the narrative to a close for good. No more sequels, and no more new final girls. They're Ghostface to become a critic, killing the franchise literally to restore what they see as its original artistic integrity. It's the ultimate protest against Hollywood's reboot culture with a bloody body count. They're trying to slam the book shut forever, proving that some stories should have just ended while they were ahead. Stu Macher's return. Let's now talk about the wildest Scream 7 theory floating around the internet. The kind that makes you pause, lean back, and say, okay, but what if? It's the idea that Stu Macher is still alive, still kicking, and still causing chaos like it's 1996 all over again. In this theory, Stu didn't die from that TV falling on his head. Nope.
Dreams.
According to believers, he survived. Barely, and has been tucked away somewhere all these years. Some say it's a prison, some say it's a psych ward. All versions agree on one thing: the man has not been resting. Apparently, Stu has been running the Ghostface business from behind the scenes like he's the CEO of chaos. And here's where it gets even crazier. Fans think he's the mastermind behind a global Ghostface cult, funding and guiding killers from the shadows. That BLM-style Ghostface mask from Scream 6? People swear it wasn't a random mask choice. They think it's Stu's secret brand, a little wink to the followers he's collected over the years. Imagine Stu on some old hospital cot, plotting, recruiting, and sending masked psychos out like employees of the month. It's ridiculous. But the Scream franchise has done stranger things. Plus, Stu always loved the spotlight, so the idea of him watching the world burn from a hidden lair, yeah, it weirdly fits. And until Scream 7 proves otherwise, this theory isn't going anywhere. Gale Weathers retcon. This next theory hits different because it goes straight for the emotional gut punch. We all know Gale Weathers has built her entire career on the bloodshed in Woodsboro, but what if that very ambition created a monster she never saw coming? This theory suggests the new Ghostface is the secret, estranged child of Gale and Dewey Riley. Think about it. All those years through every massacre and every scoop, Gale was always chasing the story. The theory posits that the stress and chaos of that life, the constant danger, the media frenzy shattered her home life, causing her to emotionally abandon her own kid. This child was left growing up in the shadow of Ghostface, watching their mother prioritize her fame and her book deals over being a parent. Now, that child is all grown up and seething with a bitter, personal rage. Their motive is about a deeply intimate revenge. They're targeting the new survivors, the Core Four, to destroy the legacy Gale built. They want to force her to watch as the very world she dedicated her life to collapses, proving that her scoop was never worth the family she left behind. It's the ultimate betrayal, turning one of the franchise's original heroes into the architect of her own nightmare. The final twist would be about Gale coming face to face with the living, breathing consequence of her choices. Secret ally. Time to visit the idea that Kirby Reed is alive and she's the franchise's new secret weapon, the FBI's undercover Ghostface hunter. See, after surviving being stabbed twice and literally dying for 4 minutes,
Making a move. 4 years of classes to
Kirby didn't just heal up and disappear. According to this theory, she took that trauma, wrapped it like a badge, and walked straight into the FBI like, give me a desk, I've got killers to study. And apparently, she's been doing it for years. In this storyline, Kirby becomes the silent guardian of the Core Four: Sam, Tara, Mindy, and Chad. She monitors Ghostface chatter online, tracks shady activity, and pops up in the shadows like the Scream universe's version of Nick Fury. She's anticipating Ghostface. Fans think she's the one sabotaging attacks before they even happen, leaking info, blocking communications, rerouting killers, and planting little traps that make the final showdown feel like a full-blown FBI sting. And the best part? Kirby has the perfect background for this role. Survivor scars, horror nerd instincts, a dark sense of humor, and an FBI badge. That's basically Ghostface kryptonite. So while everyone's busy guessing who the next killer is, this theory says Kirby is already 10 steps ahead, running the whole operation from the shadows. Because in a world full of Ghostfaces, Kirby Reed might be the only one hunting them back. Celebrity Ghostface. Okay, so this one's wild. Imagine the next Ghostface is a famous actor, and not just one, a whole group of them. They're in town to make a new movie about the Core 4 and all the Ghostface chaos. But these actors are so next level crazy about their craft that they decide to make the most realistic horror movie ever. They need to create real fear, so they put on the mask and start actually hunting Sam, Tara, Mindy, and Chad for real. The screams, the chases, and the blood are all just footage for their movie. They just want the most authentic scenes possible for their so-called art. In their minds, the Core 4 are just props in their big production. It's the most messed up version of method acting you can possibly imagine. The motive is pure Hollywood ego, where someone decided that making a masterpiece is worth more than human lives. Therapist Ghostface. What if the person Sam is trusting to fix her head is the one secretly breaking it? This theory says her new therapist is the one calling the shots. Think about it. Who has better access? This person sits in a room with Sam every week, listening to her talk about her deepest fears, her guilt, and all the messy details about her friends. While pretending to help, the therapist is actually doing two shady things at once.
If I'm going to help you, I need you to give me the details.
First, they're gaslighting Sam, feeding into her worst fear that she's destined to be a killer like her dad, Billy Loomis. They're making her doubt her own sanity. Second, and way worse, they're using their sessions as a private intelligence gathering operation. They're learning everything about the Core 4 schedules, their relationships, and what makes each of them tick. They know who's afraid of being alone, who will run towards danger, and exactly how to push their buttons. The motive is a slow psychological burn. They're trying to orchestrate Sam's complete mental unraveling, making her the perfect patsy. It turns the one place that's supposed to be safe into the most dangerous room in the city, and the killer is the one holding the notepad. Actual ghost. What if the phone calls aren't coming from a person at all? This theory goes full supernatural and suggests that Ghostface is a vengeful spirit of a past murderer, like Mrs. Loomis or Richie Kirsch, that has somehow possessed the mask itself. This would explain how the new Ghostface knows things only the original killers would know, and why their motive makes zero sense, because it's not a human logic, it's a ghost's unfinished business. The mask becomes a cursed object, passing the violent spirit from one wearer to the next, or even moving on its own. This Ghostface would have straight-up superhuman strength, the ability to appear and vanish without a trace, and a relentless nature that can't be reasoned with. How do you stop a killer who's already dead? It turns the entire rules of the franchise on its head, moving from a whodunit to a terrifying "what is it?" The Core 4 would be fighting a legend, making the threat more unstoppable and terrifying than ever before. Drew Barrymore's return? Okay, let's talk about this idea floating around for Scream 7, the Drew Barrymore is secretly still alive theory. Seriously, are we all just losing it, or is this actually a genius thought? Remember way back in the first Scream? Drew's character, Casey Becker, was the opening act, brutally murdered and strung up from a tree. It was iconic because nobody expected a star that big to get offed in the first 10 minutes. It set the whole movie's anything goes vibe. But here's the crazy fan theory. What if we didn't actually see Casey die? I know, she was gutted and hanging, but hear me out. Some fans are pointing out that in the whole messy history of the Scream franchise, there are always little loopholes, like people who got stabbed a zillion times but somehow walked it off. The theory suggests that maybe, just maybe, Casey wasn't actually dead, but was instead taken and kept hidden by someone connected to the original killers Billy and Stu. This would be a massive, jaw-dropping twist 30 years later. If she came back, maybe as a grown-up victim who escaped, or even worse, as a completely unhinged killer herself, it would be the ultimate full-circle moment for the franchise. It's totally bonkers, but bringing back the original tragic victim as a huge surprise in Scream 7, that's the kind of over-the-top drama a movie like this lives for. Time jump. Imagine the movie starts not now, but 15 or 20 years down the road. Sam and Tara have built a life, trying to leave the past behind them. The peace is shattered when a new Ghostface appears, but the attacks feel different. They're almost like a brutal, reenacted history. The final gut-wrenching twist reveals the killers are Sam and Tara's own adult children. Their motive is a twisted form of love. They grew up in the shadow of their mother's unhealed trauma, watching the psychological scars fester across decades. They orchestrated the entire massacre as a form of extreme exposure therapy. By forcing their parents to relive the nightmare and finally fight back, they're trying to make them conquer the demons that have haunted their family for their entire lives. It's a horrifying intervention, using the Ghostface persona as a tool to force a confrontation with the past, believing that the only way for their family to truly survive is for their mothers to finally completely win. If you enjoyed the video, YouTube thinks you'll love this one too.